The loss of a loved one is one of the most devastating experiences any human being can face. But when that loss comes from murder, the surviving family doesn't just have to grapple with the sudden shock and grief. It also brings overwhelming outrage, deep trauma, and a crushing sense of injustice. And when intense media exploitation gets added to the mix, the consequences can be absolutely devastating. The tragic death of 17-year-old Bianca Devins in mid-2019 sent shockwaves around the world. Her killer took photographs of her body and posted them across multiple social media platforms, where they went viral within hours. The case exposed one of the darkest and most despicable sides of certain online communities. Those horrific images were shared thousands of times purely to feed morbid curiosity or to play cruel pranks on the victim's grieving family. Some users even jumped on the trending topic just to gain more followers for themselves. Sadly, that was only the beginning. A couple of major American television networks somehow obtained even more graphic videos and photos of the crime scene under highly questionable circumstances. Just before 7 a.m. on Sunday, July 14, 2019, the Utica Police Department in New York started receiving a flood of calls from young people across different states. They were convinced a murder had taken place. Callers reported that photos of a girl with her throat slashed had been posted in Discord groups, on Snapchat, Facebook, and Instagram. Several even suggested the victim might be Bianca Michelle Devins, a 17-year-old who lived right there in Utica, although they weren't completely sure. The images, uploaded precisely at 6:48 a.m., showed a young woman who had been nearly decapitated inside a vehicle, accompanied by a short caption that read, "Sorry Bianca." The person who made the post was quickly identified as 21-year-old Brandon Clark, who had no prior criminal record. At first, some officers suspected it might be a sick hoax, that Clark had simply grabbed a photo from a gore forum to get attention. But the calls kept coming in relentlessly, and more people were convinced this really was Bianca Devins' body. At the same time, Bianca's family contacted 911 to report the uproar surrounding a certain social media post. They hadn't seen the photo yet, but they feared their daughter might be hurt or in danger. They also told dispatchers that the day before, Bianca had gone to a concert in Queens, New York, with a friend named Brandon Clark, and neither of them had come home. At 7:29 a.m., just as a couple of officers were approaching Bianca's home to speak with her mother and sister, Brandon Clark himself called the Utica Police Department. He confessed that he had killed her and gave his exact location, a secluded spot on Post Street, only about 10 minutes from the girl's house. He also warned the operator that he was going to take his own life. When another group of officers arrived at the scene, they found a black pickup truck parked in the middle of the road. Spray painted on the pavement were the words, "Never forget me." There was a small bonfire burning, a Bluetooth speaker blasting a song on repeat at full volume, and a man lying on the ground, reclined on a green tarp, with a lock of dark hair peeking out from underneath. Despite repeated commands to surrender, the young man grabbed a knife, slit his own throat, then quickly snapped a selfie with his phone and managed to post it online. Officers finally wrestled the weapon away and subdued him. But the self-inflicted wound was severe, and he began bleeding heavily. He was rushed to a medical facility, where doctors were able to stabilize him. Under the tarp lay the body of a young woman who had been partially decapitated. Everything pointed to Bianca Devins, though positive identification had to wait for the official forensic examination. The horrific incident drew wall-to-wall coverage from American news outlets and even made headlines internationally. This wasn't just a gruesome murder. The deeply disturbing images of the victim's body continued to be posted and shared hundreds of times across every major social platform, and there seemed to be no way to stop it. In fact, on the killer's Instagram account, the photo of Bianca with her throat slashed remained visible in his story for a long time, even after thousands of people reported it and demanded that the platform take it down immediately. While investigators waited for Brandon to recover from his injuries and explain why he had killed his friend, heated discussions erupted across social media and online forums about the crime. It quickly became clear that a large collective effort was underway to protect the victim's dignity and get those explicit photographs taken down for good. However, there was also a group of people who insisted on reposting those images and mocked Bianca's death, claiming she deserved what happened to her. Bianca Michelle Devins was born on October 2, 2001, in Utica, New York. She grew up in a middle-class family. But after the birth of her younger sister, her parents started having serious differences and eventually separated. Kimberly Devins, Bianca's mother, worked hard to make sure her two daughters never went without. At the same time, she had the support of her own father, who lived just a few blocks away and visited his granddaughters often. Despite the challenges, they were a happy family. But when Bianca entered 7th grade, she went through a dramatic change in personality. She went from being a cheerful, outgoing girl to locking herself in her room for days at a time, playing video games. She seemed depressed, struggled to make new friends, developed low self-esteem, and began cutting her wrists. Her mother and grandfather noticed she was going through a tough time and chalked it up to the typical emotional ups and downs of adolescence. But soon it became clear that this was far more serious than just a phase. Even though Bianca had become extremely introverted and insecure, she found an outlet on social media where she could express herself in a different way, through fashion and art. By 2016, she had created multiple accounts across various platforms, especially Instagram, where she posted all kinds of content, edited photos of herself, short videos, personal thoughts, and even original illustrations that revealed her creative and artistic side. She constantly changed her hair color, wore bold makeup, and dressed in eye-catching ways. Combined with her striking appearance and charismatic personality, it drew the attention of guys and girls alike, not just from across the United States but from other countries too, who started following her. Bianca began receiving hundreds of positive comments on her posts, which helped boost her confidence tremendously. She wasn't just active on her own social media, she also participated in several online communities focused on video games, music, and anime. Through those spaces, she connected with other young people her age who shared similar interests. She even made friends with some of them, exchanging daily messages or hopping on video calls. Bianca had built a certain level of popularity online. But that exposure also attracted people who didn't like her content. Some simply criticized her personality, while others went further and started harassing her. Still, the young woman seemed comfortable with her online interactions and trusted her mother enough to keep her informed about her new friendships. But in August 2017, at the age of 16, Bianca ran away from home. She left a note in her room saying she would be back soon, along with her cell phone so she couldn't be tracked. Her younger sister, Olivia, reached out to several of Bianca's friends, but none of them knew where she was. Frank Williams, her grandfather, was a volunteer with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Thanks to his connections, they were finally able to locate her and bring her back home. Bianca had traveled to Long Island to meet up with a guy named John, someone she had met on Instagram months earlier and with whom she was in a romantic relationship. John was 18 and visited her frequently, driving all the way from Long Island to Utica, a nearly 5-hour trip. Bianca had introduced him to her family, and everything seemed to be going well at first. But the young man was extremely controlling, manipulative, and jealous, so the couple argued often. Over the following months, the relationship continued to deteriorate until Bianca decided to end it. In revenge, John posted a video in a Discord group showing the two of them having sex, along with a message that read, "For Bianca's fans, enjoy this pervert." The girl's family took legal action, filing a report against John and obtaining a restraining order, but the damage was already done. Several Discord users had downloaded the video and constantly threatened to repost it unless Bianca sent them more explicit photos. The young woman was so desperate that she complied with their demands until authorities discovered what was happening and visited her home to get to the bottom of it. Bianca fell into a deep depression and even posted on social media that she wanted to take her own life. As a result, she was admitted to a mental health facility in Albany, New York, where she was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. After 5 months of treatment, she was finally discharged. Bianca Devins went through severe trauma but, with her family's support, managed to recover and rebuild her life. She graduated high school, planned to study psychology in college, and began exploring modeling. Friends and family said she returned from treatment in a positive, renewed state, making new friends and sharing optimistic messages on social media about mental health and self-growth. However, her online presence also attracted harassment, threats, and disturbing attention from adult men. Despite this, Bianca became more socially active and optimistic. In April 2019, she met Brandon Clark through Instagram. They became close friends, shared many interests, and spent a lot of time together. Although Brandon appeared polite and caring and clearly developed romantic feelings for her, Bianca insisted they were only friends and told others he was kind but awkward and overly persistent. Even so, hanging out with him came with clear advantages. He was of legal age, had a car, and drove her everywhere. He could also buy alcohol and get marijuana for her and her friends, something that became fairly common at the parties they attended. For his part, the young man did everything he could to spend more time with Bianca. He even made up excuses to skip work so he could visit her during the week. That's when rumors began circulating that they were actually in a romantic relationship. He had even confessed as much to a couple of friends, but since Bianca denied it, they figured Brandon was just bragging. 2 months after they first met in person, on Saturday, July 13, 2019, Bianca and Brandon drove together to Queens to attend a concert by singer Nicole Dollanganger. The trip took more than 4.5 hours, and the young man picked her up in his vehicle shortly before 3 p.m. Bianca's mother asked them to call when they arrived at their destination and to head straight back home once the show was over. What authorities were able to piece together from security camera footage and text messages was that once they arrived at the venue shortly before 8 p.m., Bianca met up with a guy identified as Alex, someone she had been chatting with on Instagram for weeks prior. The two had agreed to link up there, something Brandon apparently already knew about. A few hours later, Bianca sent a series of text messages to a friend. In them, she confessed that she had kissed Alex twice and that she felt like she was falling for him. She also said she thought Brandon had gotten jealous. The concert wrapped up close to midnight. Brandon and Bianca got back into the vehicle to make the drive home to Utica, and during the trip, the young woman fell asleep in the back seat. According to several news outlets that covered the story, the pair got into an argument during the ride, and that's when the murder happened. But official case documents state that around 5 a.m., they pulled over on Post Street, a location just 10 minutes from Bianca's house, and had consensual sex. This was proven because Brandon had placed his phone in a holder inside the vehicle and recorded the entire encounter without Bianca realizing it. Half an hour later, Brandon recorded again with his phone, this time capturing an argument in which he accused Bianca of cheating on him. She demanded that he take her home, and that's when the young man grabbed a knife he kept in the glove compartment and began stabbing her in the neck until she was dead. Afterward, he took a photograph of her body and uploaded it to his Discord group with the message, "Sorry idiots. You're gonna have to find someone else to orbit." Orbit, or the English term orbiting, refers to the behavior of certain people who keep virtual contact with someone they're physically attracted to through social media. They might watch their Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok stories, like their posts, and occasionally comment, but they never engage in more direct interaction. Brandon posted the same image on Facebook, Snapchat, and an Instagram story with the caption, "Sorry Bianca," then pulled her body out of the car and took a selfie next to it, a photo he also uploaded to his social media accounts. After being taken into custody by police and recovering from his injuries, Brandon tried to justify the crime by claiming Bianca had been unfaithful to him and that he couldn't stand being used. He said he acted impulsively after seeing her kissing another guy at the concert, but the investigation would prove otherwise. Brandon Andrew Clark, born October 6, 1997, in Syracuse, New York, had a difficult childhood. At age 12, he witnessed his violent father attack his mother with a knife and threatened to kill her and himself. Brandon was described as shy in his teenage years but also showed antisocial behavior, took risky actions like drunk driving, and frequently used marijuana and alcohol. Despite this, he maintained strict diets, exercised daily, and was passionate about music, comics, and anime. Like many young people, he spent long hours online, participating in various groups with similar interests. It was on the website 4chan that he first came across Bianca Devins' profile in early 2019. By that time, Bianca already had a decent following thanks to the content she posted on her Instagram accounts, so Brandon started following her and became obsessed. He printed out her photos and even drew pictures of her. When he finally worked up the courage to message her and she responded, Brandon assumed they could develop a much closer relationship. They talked for hours every day, and in May, Bianca invited him to her high school graduation party, where they met in person for the first time. Both Bianca's family and her close friends insisted that there was never any romantic relationship between them. However, statements from other witnesses and from Brandon himself suggest otherwise. Apparently, the girl didn't want anything serious, which Brandon took as rejection. At the same time, he noticed that Bianca received daily messages from various men who weren't just trying to get her attention. They were also threatening to leak the video of her having sex with her ex-boyfriend. All of this tormented him so much that he began fantasizing about killing her and then taking his own life. Inside Brandon's home, investigators found a diary in which he expressed his desperation over the fact that the young woman didn't seem to take him seriously. It was also proven that one day before the murder, Brandon had already conducted internet searches on how to stab someone in the neck and cause fatal injuries by cutting the carotid artery, something uncovered in his browser history. This evidence showed that Brandon had planned to kill Bianca well before she kissed Alex, and that the act was not impulsive at all. Investigators concluded that many of the elements found at the crime scene carried deliberate symbolism. Spray-painted message, "Never forget me," came from the manga Oyasumi Punpun, which both Inio Asano and Bianca had read. Brandon, the killer, played Joji's song, "Test Drive," reflecting emotional detachment and inability to form genuine connections. Murder took place at Post Street, where they had shared their first kiss. Brandon aimed to turn the crime and his attempted suicide into a tragic, pseudo-romantic spectacle, but it revealed only his cowardice, selfishness, and desperate need for attention. The circulation of photos of Bianca's body online, weeks after her death, sparked public outrage. Some individuals even blamed Bianca and glorified Brandon. Her mother and sister were repeatedly tagged, and the images were sent directly to their emails. Instagram struggled to remove the content promptly, allowing photos to spread for over 20 hours, while supportive communities flooded the platform with pink cloud images and art inspired by Bianca to make her body photos harder to find. Brandon initially pleaded not guilty to second-degree murder, citing extreme emotional disturbance, but later admitted guilt. On March 16, 2021, after asking the family for forgiveness, he was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 25 years before parole. 3 months after Bianca Devins' death, her mother, Kimberly Devins, sued a New York prosecutor who allegedly gave TV networks and a YouTuber, Elisa Tolman, videos from Brandon Clark's phone showing Bianca having sex with him and later being murdered. ABC and CBS admitted to having the footage, obtained from Oneida County DA Scott McNamara. While the defense claimed they were following public records laws, the videos involved a minor, raising serious child pornography concerns. The Bianca Devins case serves as a stark reminder of the complex intersection between violent crime, social media, and public responsibility. It exposes how digital platforms can amplify tragedy, facilitating the rapid spread of harmful content while highlighting the urgent need for stronger protections for minors and more stringent accountability for those who exploit victims. Beyond the legal and social ramifications, the case underscores the importance of empathy, digital literacy, and ethical conduct online. By sharing and engaging responsibly with content like this, we can honor Bianca's memory and contribute to a safer online environment. If you found this video insightful, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it to help raise awareness.